Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. The Cleveland Indians picked a bad time to be horrible. Despite our usual batch of bad weather, the Indians are averaging 17,639 per game, which is 24th out of the 30 major league teams. That could be because of a spike in season ticket sales due to the marketing of the All-Star game, or the fact that the team actually played pretty well in April, which in fact was Terry-Francona's best start as an Indians manager. Unfortunately, the Tribe doesn't have a chance to take advantage of school being out, among other reasons, the usual reasons why they draw well in June and July. Also, because of the All-Star break in July, they could be 20 games behind Minnesota at that point without any chance to get the wild card spot either. Ownership in the front office misread almost every chance they had. Hanley Ramirez and Carlos Gonzalez didn't work. Neither is Jake Bowers, Jonas Martin, Tyler Naquin, Greg Allen, and anybody else you could think of, or they could think of. Maybe it's just a case of injuries to two key pitchers, to Kluber and to Clevenger. Maybe, but Trevor-Bauer and carlos-carrasco have been terrible too. I used to be a scoreboard watcher, starting from day one. But it's been a long time since I've seen the Indians 10 games out, and that's before they got to the 1st of June. Bud Shaw is here. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Tuesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into its 23rd consecutive year, and of course, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Seen not quite exclusively on cleveland.com is Bud Shaw. Did you have a good holiday weekend?
I did.
How can you have a holiday weekend, Memorial Day, when you don't eat hamburgers or hot dogs? How is it possible?
Well, they can do a lot of interesting things with tofu these days, Les. And I'm going to spend the next hour talking about that instead of talking about the Cleveland Indians. Does anybody object to that?
No, however.
I didn't think so.
You know my wife.
I do.
Allison, the lovely Allison. And she's somewhat sarcastic, right? Mm-hmm. Somewhat. Yeah, I guess she'd have to be, but that's a different story for another day. She said while the game was on, the Indians game, we weren't totally engrossed in it, but we were watching it over the weekend. And Oscar Mercado is on second base with 2 men out in the 7th inning, and they're down 5-0. You familiar with the situation? Mm-hmm. So a ball gets by the catcher from here to that wastebasket, and he tries to score. And 5 times within the next hour, my wife said, he tried to score down by 5 runs, and that ball just rolled over there. Now, she's a baseball fan, but you don't have to be an analytics director to know that that was a dumb move. And I haven't seen every inning of every game since they brought him up, but I've seen 5 errors that he has made, not physical errors, but mental errors, through to second, third base, trying to get a guy, letting the guy who hit the single get the second, and other things like that.
Well,
is that the Indians' way?
All right, how's this for a positive spin?
Right.
You know who else had those issues when he was called up as an outfielder?
Who?
Manny Ramirez. Nobody's buying that. Maybe this is just Oscar being Oscar.
If Oscar what is he, the Grouch?
Like Manny being Manny.
If he has, I'm not going to say half the career that Manny Ramirez has, but I might say that. If he has a career anywhere near Manny Ramirez, that's okay.
I once grew so frustrated watching the young Manny Ramirez not be able to run the bases, have no idea what angles to take, what routes to take on balls, throw the wrong base, overthrow, that I suggested that until he learns the fundamentals, they should play Wayne Kirby out there. I later told Wayne Kirby that story, and he laughed so hard he couldn't breathe. He said, well, you're the only person who ever suggested that I should play ahead of Manny.
Okay.
And I said, well, there's probably a reason
You
for
said taking the proper angles. That collision they had that almost killed 2 people, by the way, was directly because of the way they went the angles to the ball. I don't claim to ever have big league skills, but I know stuff like that.
If there's a play that symbolizes the season, it's that play, right? Two guys run into each other, almost
Kluber
kill each other,
limping off.
and the ball goes out away for a ground or a inside the park home run. So it's brutal right now, and I feel foolish. Full disclosure, I'm going to throw myself at the mercy of the court by saying that I thought they could still win the division, even after they let these guys go in the offseason.
You're throwing onto the mercy of the court. That is another area my wife is an expert at because she has seen every single SUV or SVU or special unit.
I don't
She's seen
think
them
it's
all.
SUV.
Yeah, it's not SUV, nor does she drive one. but she's seen every one, so
Wow.
she could be a lawyer now.
Well, I don't think I was alone because we all thought that their pitching was so good.
Yeah.
And we didn't believe in the Twins' pitching. I believed that they had a better lineup than the Indians, and I think you agreed going into the season. I just didn't expect that their pitching was going to hold. Then they're going to have some issues, but their issues aren't going to allow for this team, as currently constructed, to eat up 10 games.
And the way they're playing and what they have coming up in the next 10, 15 games is
after
horrible.
the next 10 or 15, they've got a long list of Kansas Cities and Detroits and
if they can get there.
Teams that aren't very good. But if you're 12, 13 out by then, it's not going to matter.
Do you, since this is time for opening comments, do you actually have one?
I do. It's not going to be ad-libbed. I actually
With
wrote
his
it down.
opening comment, his commentary, here's my good friend, Bud Shaw.
Well, thanks, Les. Baseball's All-Star Game comes to town July 8th, so mark July 9th on your calendar. There's no way the Dolans want to invite the national media to a garage sale, but once the All-Star Game comes and goes, if this team is still playing as it is now, I suspect we will see ownership sell off assets and regroup for 2020. A 10-game deficit on Memorial Day isn't insurmountable, but you don't spend the offseason clearing payroll to then go ahead and add salary at the trade deadline unless the postseason is a reasonable goal. It just doesn't make sense otherwise. Being sellers won't go over with the fan base, obviously, but unless part of that sale is Francisco-Lindor, I think the relationship might still be salvageable. The Indians owe it to their fans to make a realistic offer to keep Lindor because he's that special. They also owe it to them to try to build a winner around Lindor while he's still here. Maybe the Indians can close the gap on the Twins in the next 5 weeks, but based on what we've seen, that old familiar phrase, wait till next year, comes to mind.
Am I wrong in thinking the Indians' history of attendance, am I wrong in saying 17-6 isn't too bad at this stage of the game?
Well, given
Based
where
on
they
our
are,
weather?
certainly where they are in the standings and where the kind of weather we've had this year, sure. But they've always gotten better as seasons go on under Francona. Or not always, but 95% of the time they have. And the city has responded to the warm weather and the fact that this team, for the last 3 or 4 years, has been a few games up in the division, with no real challenger. This is totally different.
All right, is it time to sell?
I think it's time to start selling some players, yeah.
The big ones?
I would not trade Lindor this year. I would not.
Although somebody would give you a lot based on just the next few years, knowing they couldn't sign him after that or thinking they couldn't.
Well, there is that argument. I think you're going to get a lot for him regardless. Even if you wait into next year, you're still going to get a lot for him.
All right, let's take a look at our potential fire sale list here. You got Trevor-Bauer. Here's what he's done so far. You sell? All right. We need one of those real estate signs on the side. 76 innings and a 4-4 record and a 3.99 ERA. And strikeouts, 80. How about that? That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. All right, let's continue on. See who else is for sale. Would you sell this guy, Brad?
Sell.
Sell him too. 13 out of 13 saves, 30 strikeouts and 6 walks, 1.29 ERA in 21 innings. And again, 13 for 13. All right, Carlos Santana, who's done better than most people would think, although he is starting out very well where he usually doesn't, so maybe he's flipped the switch here. Maybe he won't do so well as we go on, but he's hitting .279, on-base percentage of .400, 9 homers, 29 RBIs, and 29 runs scored. Buy or sell?
Sell.
Wow. Let's continue on. Jose-Ramirez.
Good luck.
That means sell if you can, right?
Well,
it means
I don't
we
know.
have a bad basement and roof.
He is the one guy that mystifies me. This has been almost a year-long thing now. That worries me, but his contract is still friendly. So I would maybe try to see if I could figure this out.
It would be better if you had more offensive players so he could bat eighth in the lineup for a while.
Yeah, it certainly would hurt.
All right, here's the big question right here. Here's the most valuable chip you have, and it's Francisco-Lindor hitting .278, 7 homers, 16 RBIs, 19 runs scored, and 6 stolen bases. I suggested they put him in the third spot and let Santana lead off, but Francona says no, he wants this guy to get as many bats as he can. I see both arguments.
I see the argument that if you're going to rip it down and you know you can't sign him, you might as well maximize his value. I just don't like it. I feel like he's a guy that if you trade a couple of players, Bauer, Hand, whoever, try to reload, you might still be able to challenge in this division next year if you keep Lindor and Ramirez comes back. Doesn't look like that now, granted.
All right, OTAs have come and almost gone, and we were out there checking them out. When we come back, we will go with the OTAs with the Cleveland Browns out in Berea. In the meantime, let's go to Facebook. You can follow us on facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every year. We've got a question of the day, and we'll check that out. We'll do that when we get back. More Sports and Les Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com with Bud Shaw.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I think we're making progress when you really look at where we were on April the 1st, all right, and how we started out just really with phase 1, phase 2. You have seen the development and growth of a lot of guys. Depth, we're always looking for depth. I think you saw that with the draft and the number of guys that we picked up. So that's always going to be important because you're going to have injuries throughout the year, and that's why it's so important as a staff that we really develop those young guys.
What do you see who's taking a lead in that battle for strong safety?
Oh, it's still open. It's still too early to really determine that. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to be able to get in there and showcase their talent and perform. So right now, we're just really trying to lay a great foundation. All right, really the fundamentals and technique of the position. Those guys doing a good job of really picking up the system. So again, it's too early to determine who's going to be the starters.
What did you see out of Greedy before you guys drafted him, and then how has he been in the first couple of days out here?
Well, number one, he's long, he's athletic. This game right now, you talk about look at the different receivers and the types that we have for his big body. So I love long corners. He's definitely that, very athletic, can run, and he's very physical, and that's important in the run game with me, that our corners tackle. So again, we don't have pads on right now, but you can see that athleticism out there on the field and the way he moves around.
It's hard to see everything here because we're not in pads, but you can certainly see the competitive spirit. He likes having fun. It's the best way I can put it is he likes to have fun, but he's not a clown. I think people misconstrue how much fun he likes to have playing the game and around people, but I'm telling you, when you're in the meetings and you're out here, he wants to be coached. He wants to be great. He's a serious guy when it comes to game of football.
In terms of the skill set, what do you see there?
Tremendous arm talent, and really has a unique knack once he gets outside the pocket to see receivers down the field and throw it accurately.
Todd, your quarterbacks in Tampa Bay last year were aggressive. It's no secret Baker-Mayfield's a pretty aggressive quarterback too. Going into year 2, how do you find that sort of balance between aggression and taking what the defense is giving him week to week?
Well, it's part of it. I think you can always have shots down the field where if your quarterback is, if he's dialed in enough, then he knows you have shots built in, but you can always check the ball down. So I think that's part of it, is being aggressive, trying to be able to get explosive plays. That's how you win, is being explosive and don't turn it over. Unfortunately, we didn't do the latter last year.
I think they're both very similar. I think, it's basically maybe how they follow through, or, how they strike the ball. I think there's slight differences, but they're both strong-legged, right-footed kickers. What I talk about a lot, you guys will hear me say this all year long, is for a place kicker to be effective, he's got to have great timing so he doesn't get it blocked off the edge. He's got to have great elevation so he doesn't get blocked up the middle, and obviously accuracy. All three of those things play into it, and both those guys do all three things very, very well. So we just got to continue. Right now, Austin doesn't have the timing down because the other three guys have worked together with Greg, Charlie, and Britton. In terms of the timing of we want to maybe be around 1-3, 1-3-0, 1-2-7 to 1-3-2 is our parameters. And Austin's a little bit slower than that right now, but as he continues to work with those guys, he'll speed it up a little bit.
So you talked earlier about buying into what the Indians were doing. When was the last? I can't think of the last time I looked at offensive, defensive coordinators on this team and not be impressed with them. And some of them haven't done very well. But these guys look like they actually know what they're doing.
Are you going to say they won the press conference?
They won the OTAs. Everybody wins the press conference. When was the last? Other than Bobby Valentine. Who was the last one? Bobby Valentine was made up enough for 10 guys.
Or other than Adam Gase, who was introduced as the New York Jets head coach, and his eyes all of a sudden were this big, and they were just darting everywhere.
Well, you just realized he was the head coach?
Maybe.
Wasn't that a guy that everybody was pushing here?
Yeah. Back in, he's Peyton Manning's guy, and, there was that thought that, not that he had helped create Manning, but that he was a real sharp offensive mind, and everybody was looking for an offensive mind. Instead, you got Freddie-Kitchens, who turned out to have an offensive mind, even though he doesn't quite come off like a bookworm when it comes to studying game plans.
When you look at Steve-Wilks and Todd-Monken, if you have doubts about Freddie-Kitchens, do they alleviate those doubts in any way?
Yeah, I think they help, certainly, yeah. You got a couple of guys that have had success and or experienced and well-respected in the league. And we've all said before, and I know you've been a proponent of not overburdening head coaches here with play calling. I think when you have Monken here and he's been successful and he understands what Freddie wants, he can take a lot of that responsibility.
Yeah, I agree with that. You just wondered, they had no history together before, so where would that cohesion, where would that coalition?
I think you could say that about this team across the board, Les. I mean, you remember the year that Philadelphia started amassing these players and signing free agents, and then somebody said, we have a dream team here, and they ended up going 7-9 or something like that. It's just not that kind of game where you just throw people together and think, oh, they're talented, we'll be 12-4. It's just not. And if they could prove that, that can be that can be gained in a single training camp maybe, with a good start. But it's a tough league to turn it around and win it.
I've spoken to Doug Deacon numerous times about this, where now you need to get the cohesiveness between linemen is 3-4 weeks, 3-4 games. When he started, it was 3-4 years, really.
Yeah, and those guys were kept together usually and played a lot together. So it's, hey, they're very, they're going to be very good, I think, whether it happens this year or it comes next year. I think they're going to be vastly improved. But this idea that suddenly every team in the division is, looking up to them because their roster is so much better. I bet that's not the narrative in Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
And it might be after this year if the Browns prove out, but at this point I totally agree with you. Gerald McCoy reportedly visiting in Baltimore today. There was a report you told me about possibly Cincinnati, which surprises me.
Yeah, I guess he has a connection with the D-line coach there. Geno Atkins is there. He may be using this just to drive up price. Wouldn't you if you could, But certainly it doesn't fit the criteria of, a place that he wants to win, which is what he said. I mean, unless we're dead wrong about the Bengals, but I just don't see them being a factor in this division.
Who knew that the AFC North would be such a popular visiting place in the offseason?
Yeah. And maybe he thinks the more division teams he visits with, the more those other teams are willing to hike their price because they want to keep them away from another division.
Although
opponent.
the Browns seem to have the more cap room from that division.
Although the Bengals do too, and I think that was part of the reason why people thought that he might be a spot that he'd look at. I think they have somewhere above $22 million yet.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-les-levine@gmail.com. Bud Shaw is with us. Terry Pluto tomorrow night. The D-Man Dennis Maniloff will be here on Thursday. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, as well as Saturday with the post time at 6 p.m. Northfield opens early every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Players Club members can enter the free handicapping contest every Sunday for a chance to win the top prize of $500 in cash. There's free admission. There's free parking every day at Northfield Park. We'll come back in a moment. We'll come back with the How Come Quickie. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Nature Stone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems. Unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Nature Stone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Nature Stone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of May and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. This actually was sent in by one of our emailers last week. It was so good we're doing it again. How come if you feed a child alphabet soup, you were putting words in his mouth? You grading that one?
I'll hold off, but that's pretty strong.
That is pretty good. Pretty good. It comes strong.
That's pretty good.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Bud Shaw with us, Terry Pluto tomorrow, and the D-Man Dennis Maniloff on Thursday. Gerald McCoy visits Baltimore. What would he, if he comes here, let's forget the money because we don't care what the owners spend, right?
Yeah.
It's not our problem.
Right.
But it does fit in, whatever they do pay him would fit into the salary cap. What does he bring to this team if he does come here?
Well, I mean, they have right now, I think, very good pass rushers on the end with Myles Garrett and Olivier Vernon. What a guy like that does, who had 6 sacks playing, as a defensive tackle last year, he gives them that rush up the middle that could really cause quarterbacks issues. If you're feeling the pressure outside and inside, there's nowhere really else to go.
You suppose Baker Mayfield pushing for his Oklahoma buddy?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a relationship there or not. I thought it was funny that Myles Garrett basically told OBJ to stay on his side of the ball. Don't start courting players on the defensive side.
Why? Because it's a friend as opposed to knowing what the team needs?
Well, no, it's because Myles Garrett feels strongly about the guys that he played last year with and who were there, you know, and he thinks they could be a dominant defensive line without anybody else.
All right, so I'll say to Myles Garrett, you can tell OBJ that he can stay on his side of the ball. I think that the general manager and anybody else in front office should say the same thing to him. Just play football.
Well,
we'll decide.
But he's not courting, like, it'd be like him coming out and saying, here's a wide receiver that I think we should sign.
Because he's better than the ones we have right now.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
So, I don't know. I like Myles Garrett a lot. I think he's got a really great attitude. I think he's going to be a fan, more than just a fan favorite. I think he's going to go down as one of the most likable, productive players this team's had in 30 years.
But unfortunately, in 2 years or so, if there's no strike or work stoppage, it seems to me that they're going to have to pay the piper on that one.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Well, it is. I mean, and great team or great organizations find a way to do it, right? They keep their dominant pass rusher usually, and they keep their franchise quarterback. So I think the money is there for these guys to do it.
There's some talk today that the Players Association of the NFL basically telling agents to prepare themselves for a strike after next year, 2020. Is it time to worry about that, or do you think that's just talk, that's just bargaining?
Yeah, I think it's just bargaining at this point, but certainly it seems to ebb and flow. Whoever somebody gets the best of a collective bargaining agreement, and then the other side pushes back. So
right, and it's 2 years away.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was something.
You wouldn't be looking for football signing the
replacement players.
Replacement players.
No. We saw enough of replacement players in baseball. I hope not to see that again.
Do you remember the last replacement player situation? I think it was '87.
I remember it happening, but I wasn't.
You weren't in the biz?
Yeah, I was in the biz. I just wasn't covering a football team at that time to really follow it. But I remember in '94 when the strike happened in baseball, and they went with replacement players to start the '95 spring training, and I remember what that was like. And they were all, they were all nice enough people who were very good at what they did, but they weren't Major League Baseball players, and you could see it when they were on the field.
Wasn't Sarbaugh one of them?
He was.
Third base coach by the Indians?
I believe so. I just remember Buddy Bell, who was very heavily involved in Players Association stuff as a player, didn't even want to watch spring training, didn't even want to watch his own players during spring training. That's how strongly he felt about it. And I think they came up here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they played one exhibition game in the snow with replacement players.
I want to say with the Mets.
And then partway through that game, toward the end of that game, we got word that the Major League players would be reporting to spring training and that we would have a truncated season.
Yeah. I don't know that Mike Hargrove actually said this, but it sounds like he would say, if one of the players came, well, what do we do now? He's got to say, who gives a darn?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think that was the prevailing attitude, and then we all know that's why they only played 144 games that year. But boy, what a team that was in '95.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You familiar with Colin Cowherd? Do you listen to him at all?
Yeah.
What's going on with him and Baker?
I
show
think,
business?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cowherd's really good at what he does, and I think he likes when he sees trends and opinions going in one direction, he doesn't mind having a different opinion in the other direction. And
because if he gets lucky and he's right, he gets to play that out.
Yeah, and it gets him, in the meantime, it gets him some attention. So he's been tweaking Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker-Mayfield for certain things. And I think one of the things he said early on was that OBJ did not want to be traded to Cleveland when it happened.
Right.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise anybody.
We all know he needed time to get his head around the idea of it, and I don't know that it was specific to anybody or anything here in Cleveland. It was just probably preferred a big market team, or maybe preferred going to the Jets and staying in New York. Who knows what he preferred? But so he and Baker have been feuding over this stuff, and and who knows? I mean, it doesn't mean anything, and I think both guys know that.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. If you can't call us during the show, which is aired from 6 until 7 Eastern Time, you can call us anytime and leave a message. That's at 216-200-6650. Call anytime, leave a message as short as possible. We'll use the best messages or questions in a future show. The voicemail of truth and reason. We'll come back in a moment. Bud Shaw with us from WKYC.com. We'll come back with this date in sports history and more. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history, a date that will live in infamy. This is May 28, 2006. Barry Bonds hits his 715th home run against Colorado. Well, he didn't hit all of them were not against Colorado. But the last one, the one that he hit on this date, 715th, to pass Babe Ruth's total. He, of course, will later pass Henry Aaron's total of 755. You're a baseball historian. How many did Barry Bonds hit?
A lot.
A lot more than 750. I think I'm going to guess 763.
I thought it was 773 or something like that.
Could be.
763.
61 and 60 stick in my mind, so does 714. Jim Thorpe was born on this day before the turn of the other century. Jerry West seen on the left, the logo. Debutante from 1947. Kirk Gibson, one of the most memorable events in World Series history. Glenn Rice, as well as Johnny Peralta.
So you gave me a
homework assignment.
A homework assignment.
Yeah.
To determine when was the last time the Indians were buried by double digits, like 10
before Memorial Day.
Before Memorial Day, and when they tore it down in the early 2000s, I think there was a year, 2003 maybe, or two, where they went 68 and 94.
Well, 2003 was just after the relief pitchers were killed in the boat accident.
No, 2003, not 1993. I'm
I'm
talking about
sorry,
in
2003.
the early 2000s,
I'm sorry.
after they went through the sellout streak and all
Right.
that, and then they had to retool. They had a season there where they were already behind by 11 or 12. And then the time prior to that was what you're referring to, in
Right.
92, 93, before they were any good at all. They got buried, and that was back then. They were buried in the American League,
right?
Behind 6 other teams, right? The AL East as opposed to
it wasn't divided into 3. So this is your father's Cleveland Indians.
In a sense, it's feeling that way. I wasn't I got lucky. I came here in '91 and they were bad for a couple of years, but then I saw this great rebirth, And I know people like you have always talked about what the '70s were like with the Indians and most of the '80s,
right.
And
you could get foul balls sitting in the stands, though.
And I don't think we'll get to that point here, but it feels like the level of interest now is really waning.
I should save this for this date in Les-Levine history, but I've gotten 2 foul balls at in my history of watching games. They were on consecutive pitches.
Get out.
Yeah.
Where were you sitting? Right behind the catcher?
I was sitting in the upper deck at the old Cleveland Stadium. Had to be in the mid-70s, and it was probably, we were looking out the third base line, and I caught one, and another landed half a section over, and I didn't have to sprint. I didn't have to use any running skills.
Hey, can I
get
clarify? When I say interest
Sure.
is waning, I don't mean in if you look at the TV product, there's still people paying attention
Sure.
to them, watching them. I just think it's going to, get to that point where people ask themselves, do they want to spend money to go watch a game if they don't think there's a possibility of them
which happens to be
competing, and it
happens to be
for a while.
our question of the day, which we'll get to sometime before the end of this show. By the way, I won't be one of those watching if Mercado continues to try to score when they're down by 5 in the 7th inning at Fenway Park.
Neither will Allison-Levine, from what I hear.
There's no question about it. We talked about Baker Mayfield selling these anti-Colin Cowherd T-shirts. Do you think he needs the money that bad, or is it going to charity?
No, I'm sure it's going to go to charity, and I don't.
Okay, I'm not sure why we're promoting it, but we are.
I don't know.
Enough said. Fact versus fiction, Cleveland versus Cowherd, the land versus the herd. Fact over fiction. That's it. If you want to buy it, be my guest. If not, if you'd rather send it to me, and I'll donate it to the Parkinson's cause.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a better idea.
That would be a good cause.
No question about that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. In fact, when we get back, we'll take a look at that Facebook question of the day. Bud Shaw with us, WKYC.com is where he is at. And the Browns now are enjoying all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are they enjoying too much? Is this somewhere where they've never been before?
Well, it's definitely somewhere where they've never been before. But I think the GM and the head coach are going to be the two guys that already have their antenna out for this.
Right.
We can hear it in the way Dorsey and Kitchens express themselves. One guy is saying basically that nothing's happened yet. It all starts in training camp, and that's when we find out what we have. The other guy is saying a version of that, which is whoop the hell, So we're talented on paper. So what, And
wouldn't you rather be that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe there are players on this team that need to hear that from Kitchens when they first get together, and I'm sure he's going to express it.
You really think they feel that way?
What have they done?
No, they haven't done anything. 7-8-1.
7-8-1. I bring this up. It's even making me ill. I bring it up so often that when they went 5-3 to finish the season, they didn't have a win over a team with a winning record.
Got to remember that.
It doesn't mean they won't this year, and they're certainly better than they were talent-wise to end the year. So they should win.
Don't you think the fact that Hugh Jackson has had cast a pall on the organization, and now that's gone, and you start from almost square one?
Yeah.
You know what you have in the quarterback, which you didn't know a year ago.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and he should have a better command of the offense.
Right.
And
that being said, the defense will have a better command of what he does.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this in the league before where, they have a chance to really watch players, and they come up with schemes and different things they can do to impact their performance. So I think he's too talented to. He's not going to go from Derek Anderson in 2007 to Derek Anderson in 2008.
No.
He's just not.
No.
But if he has a similar year and he doesn't take this big jump to, top 10 quarterback, elite status, I don't think it's cause for worry. I just think that's the way it works.
216-575-0403. We asked on Facebook, what would make you buy Indians tickets for the rest of this year? I'd have dollar tickets and full-price hot dogs.
Full-price hot dogs?
Full-price hot dogs, dollar tickets.
That might do it.
Let's take a look at what some people had. You know what's good about this, Bud? We've added a whole bunch of new people sending in emails, which is terrific for the show and cleveland.com. What would make you buy Indians tickets for the rest of this year? Glenn Berger, a complete turnaround by the Indians, a long winning streak, the offense to come alive, and the starting pitching to improve. Hey, I can dream, can't I? Wayne Richard Lyons, I'm lucky I now live in Cincinnati, so chances of doing that are none. But if I still lived in Shaker Heights, I would not be in any hurry to watch this team at this time.
Fair enough.
Sean Young, great actress, right?
Absolutely.
I said that to my crew in the back. They said, who the hell are you?
I even had to think about
Who
it.
the heck are you talking about? Sean Young says, new promotion, score more than 3 runs a night. You can do that. Jeffrey Bernstein, nice weather. It takes a little more than that. Eric Eglin, Dolan's run out of town for someone not afraid to open the bank and win. Also better customer service. I'm not sure what he refers to. What I know of, they've got pretty good customer service.
I haven't had anybody emailing me on that topic.
No.
So
Jordan Reese says free Uber rides and slash the price of food. You know, I mean, they've proven that with Dollar Dog Night, and my guess is if you did something like Atlanta's football team does with food prices and all, maybe that'll get you in. If you get in the door, you're going to spend money.
Yeah, you know, you and I talked about this early in the year after Paul Dolan was quoted saying, you know,
enjoy them while you have them.
Whether that was the exact quote or whether we're paraphrasing, sort of the, you know, it's going to be tough signing Lindor, so enjoy him while he's here. But in doing that, he was trying to have it both ways. He was saying enjoy him while he's here, but while he's here, we're not going to build a championship team around him.
And then if somebody wants to blame the fans for not showing up, we're with them.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was a big ask when you gave up that many. What is it? 400? What's the number now? 400 RBIs.
Oh, I'm touching
400 RBIs over last year and 105 home runs or something. You had to know that winning was going to be a really difficult thing unless everything went perfectly.
But you still thought the pitching was going to be there for you.
I did, and I just didn't think Minnesota was. I think they were guilty of underestimating the Twins.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll take a look at Zach Plesac, who's getting the start tonight. No, he's not Dan's son. He's Dan's nephew, however. Let's make history together. Bud, I purchased my tickets. June 2nd is the big wine tasting event at Sokolowski's University Inn. It's going to start at 3. Let's make history together, featuring wines from the Wente family estates celebrating their 100th anniversary. And you can see by Sokolowski's 1923, they're not too far behind, coming up on inside 95 years since they started it all. Mike and Bernie's grandparents started it. Same location in Tremont, 5 minutes out of downtown. They won the James Beard Foundation Award, and we don't believe that anybody in Cleveland has ever won that award, which gives 5 restaurants that award each and every year. For reservations and more information, call 216-771-8967 or check out Sokolowskis.com. We'll come back in a moment. More Sports and Les-Levine continues with Bud Shaw exclusively on cleveland.com.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of May and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
take a look at this date in Les history. May 28, 1964, Bud. Les receives the Come Loudly Award at Brush High School for talking so much during class.
It's high honor.
It is a high honor. Yeah. Very coveted in Brush High annals. No question about that. Dan Plesac's nephew is going to be pitching tonight, and that's Zach Plesac, who has split this season between Akron and Columbus. He's getting the Grand Tour of Ohio, and there you see his record, pretty good. 57 1/3 innings, 38 hits, 9 earned runs, ERA of 1.41, 56 strikeouts and 7 walks. That's Dan Plesac, the left-hander, pitching tonight at Fenway Park.
There's a possibility of the Dorothy, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. You go from AA and AAA to pitching in Fenway Park.
Right, your first one.
Against a good lineup and for a team that's having trouble scoring runs. Now, we've all seen it, Les, that sometimes these, veteran, experienced lineups have trouble when they haven't seen a guy before.
First time around. So you hope you can get 5 innings out of him?
Yeah, maybe there'll be some benefit to that.
And yes, that is correct. Cleveland Bill wants to know, have the Browns gone all in too soon? With the salary cap space down to $13 million, much of which will disappear if the Browns sign McCoy. One wonders whether the team has gone all in too soon. Much will be expected of many players here for the first time or else in only their second year. From Cleveland Bill.
Yeah,
it's a chance you take.
I haven't paid much attention to the cap, to tell you the truth. I just know. You would think that Dorsey hasn't gone through all the money this early in the process.
Right.
I didn't know that it was down to that. I'd have to look at that.
It's a Memorial Day sale. We have the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Ron has responded to that. Let's listen in. This is taped, so we can't argue with him.
Okay.
Let's listen in.
Hi, Les. This is Ron Beier. Hey, since so many positive things are happening in Cleveland sports news right now, I hate to bring up the bad scenario, but are you afraid that if 2 or 3 Indians players don't turn their production around soon, the Indians will become a sinking ship that will not recover for many years to come?
That's a fair concern, because I think, you had the rebuild from 91 that you were talking about into 94, which was fairly quick, but they wound up getting guys who were, how many all-stars around the infield and outfield did they have eventually? Not just all-stars, but if certain things didn't happen, they could have been Hall of Famers. Could have been 4 or 5 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no doubt. They were signing young players in mass then and figuring that, they would miss on some of them, like Jack Armstrong, Scott Scudder, I think was another one, but hit on the ones.
Jack Armstrong.
Yeah.
The All-American boy.
Yeah. Who was
dated reference?
Probably, yeah. But more famous for being able to actually walk on his hands.
Who?
Jack Armstrong. The
Indians, Jack Armstrong?
Yeah. Then what he
Explain that better than that.
He just could walk.
He'd be in the locker room?
Yeah, he could walk off, if he wanted to, he could walk off the pitching mound on his hands.
Wouldn't that be great? I don't know how the angle of the mound would be a problem.
The stuff that I have accrued up here over the years is just so meaningless.
When we write that book.
Yeah, it's just so meaningless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the biggest concern with this team is obviously, they could identify those players early and get them signed back then, and that was the attack or the approach they took. They tried it with Lindor, and it's not going to work. So we know their best player isn't going to sign for anything less than what he thinks market value.
Did you use Jim Otto as one of the, not Jim Otto.
Jim Otto?
No, Dave Otto. Did you use Dave Otto?
He might have been another one.
Well, because he's more famous in Cleveland Indians history as being one of 3 guys who are, their names are spelled the same forward and backward.
Oh, well, there you go. So
Toby Harrah, Mark Salas, and Dave Otto.
Huh. See, this is...
In case anybody's in a bar and they want to win some money.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to talk to Joe in Inglewood. You can argue with him.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Joe, which Inglewood is that? Where are you at?
That's the one in Ohio.
Where?
Okay.
Just north of Dayton.
Oh, okay. You okay with the storm from last night?
Everything's good in the hood.
Good. Our thoughts and prayers with everybody who got nailed by that. What's on your mind, Joe?
Hey, Bud, Les. I keep hearing the knock against John-Beilein's age, 66, and the demands of the 82-game season. What about Francona being 60 and having a 162 game season that at times has 2 games on the same day.
Well, I think that Francona gets a little pass by a lot of people because he had done it before at that level and knows the rigors of what that's all about. But I'll tell you what, I think I was the first one to bring it up maybe 2 weeks ago that he looked beaten and sounded beaten. So you may have a point there, but I think losing 7 of 8 or whatever that number is, that's going to do it to you. But I did notice he was burnt out a little bit.
Yeah, I've said before that, in fact, on your show, that I'm not a Francona fan, and the times that he's been successful, he's had top-notch talent, probably no injuries, I can't say for sure, and I still think he got out-coached in the series with Chicago by Madden, and
well, when you go to Game 7 into extra innings and it's a one-run game, I'm not sure how you can judge that somebody got outmanaged.
Well, somebody's going to, the guy that won.
No, listen. Well, every time there's a winner, Joe. Every time there's a winner, or a loss doesn't mean somebody got outmanaged or outcoached, right, bud?
Yeah, I mean Madden, the way he used Aroldis Chapman in that series was
he came under big fire in
big
Chicago.
Target. Had they lost that series, he would have been roasted in Chicago for that. So I'm not sure he got the better of Francona in that series. But the only thing I'll say on the other front is, there's no team in the American League that has won as many games over the period of time that Terry Francona has been here. Now, he didn't do it with the biggest payroll in baseball, certainly.
Did it in the right division?
Did it? He was he benefited from the division. So I think it's hard sometimes for people to get a handle on whether they think a manager is along for the ride or making things happen.
The interesting thing on Francona, Joe, is that they announced that he signed an extension, and that's when the team sort of went south on him.
Yeah, and
not that one has anything to do with the other.
I think that's coincidence. I mean, if you spend any time around that team, right or wrong, you could say, well, maybe it's because he sticks with his guys so much, but he's well considered and well liked and well respected in the clubhouse. So I don't think this season is an indication that, as someone said to me earlier today, that maybe they need to hear a different voice. I don't think they're at that point with Francona yet. But
Joe, thanks so much for the call.
Yeah, can I sneak another question in?
Quickly.
Yeah, like what sport would you think, in a professional sport, does the manager or coach have the greatest influence on the success of the team?
College basketball.
No, it's not professional.
Oh yes. Okay, what, the manager or coach has the most influence? I don't know.
On the success of the team.
Yeah. I think I would say NFL head coach.
Maybe.
How about you?
I don't know myself, so I would be curious on that.
Oh, you can't ask a question like that if you don't know the answer.
Okay, I'm going to say soccer because you can look at Alex Ferguson dominating Premier, maybe hockey, Scotty Bowman.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a possibility.
So,
all right, Joe, we got to move along. Thank you so much. 216-575-0403. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. You've got it coming up every Wednesday, or Monday through Wednesday, as well as Saturdays with the post time 6 p.m. Visit Lady Luck's Clubhouse for your dining pleasure on Saturday evenings. A buffet of just $15.95. Call for reservations 330-467-4101. Free parking, free admission every day. That's in Northfield Park. We're going to come back and check out some emails, quickies that were sent in, including some good ones by Mr. Gullible.
I'm ready to grade them.
Brought to you exclusive. We don't have one from our main guy.
And I'll grade Mr. Gullible.
More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Nature Stone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Nature Stone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of May and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a game catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Terry Pluto, the plain dealer, cleveland.com, joins us. You see us live from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then you can archive it all day long, all night long, right here on cleveland.com. 216-575-0403. You can also check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine with new content posted each and every day. Cleveland Bill sends in a how come quickie, bud.
What did he say?
How come when MGM decided to make a film about fonts, they were accused of typecasting? All right,
okay.
Here you come. Mr. Gullible comes strong today.
All right.
Doubleheader from Mr. Gullible.
Okay.
How come broken pencils are pointless? Also, if the best pencils are number 2, why aren't number? What's wrong with number 1
pencils?
Yeah.
Does the pointless one? Does that ring a bell to you? Have you used that before?
I don't believe so.
Huh.
Are you suggesting there's
no? All right.
There's maybe some stealing going on?
Well, you never
this one
know.
I know we haven't had from Mr. Gullible.
Okay.
How come England does not have a kidney bank, but it has a liver pool?
No, I could tell by your reaction
That we haven't had that. You gave it a 9.0 before you heard it?
No, the grouping, his work in total.
Okay. All right, how about this from the prolific John Patrick? Here's today's Daily Double. Which camera do I look for the Johnny Carson effect? Which one? This one or that one?
The one that says less? Would that
one
be
that
the
says
one?
less. I'm gonna give you the Johnny Carson effect after this. How come when 2 silkworms were having a race, it ended in a tie?
All right.
All right, that's his first one.
Okay.
How come if athletes get athlete's foot, do astronauts get mistletoe?
You know what?
We may have hit the jackpot.
Listen, I feel like I've heard that before.
Oh.
I need to know whether these are being, what's the polite word?
Well, John has said he will
Stolen, pilfered?
Stolen, pilfered, yeah. But he also is on record as saying if he got a 10, he would continue to send them. So with that in mind, Bud has come up with a 9.6.
Until I can check the origin of the mistletoe one.
What do you do? Go through every quickie ever done and see if mistletoe is one of them?
I'm going to type that in and see if that is a
all right, so just so I know, that's my Johnny Carson. That's my Johnny Carson angle. Okay. All right, let's only one thing to do at a time
you have
like
Carson's
this.
hair. I'll give you that.
I do. That's only one thing to do at a time like this.
Say goodnight?
No, almost. But before we do that, we want to say hello to BP and Pepper Pike. Hi, BP.
Gentlemen, how are you both doing?
We're doing well. We don't have much time. We're in quickie time.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't have a quickie for you.
That's all right. We've had enough.
Yeah.
Enough good ones.
I just wanted to say, are you enjoying all this dysfunction coming out of the Los Angeles Lakers camp?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I never suspected that it was to the level it was after looking at that story.
What happened today?
Just a story written about what's going on with
the heavy-handed stuff.
Rich Paul's involvement in on team flights and some of the things that Pelinka has concocted.
You don't think stuff like that happens in a lot of teams?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a rule generally on NBA fights that the agent for players isn't on the flight between games. So I think maybe that's a little different case because of the superstar.
Well, somebody let him get on.
There was also something interesting where I don't know what restaurant this was, but Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was having lunch with Maverick Carter. Rich Paul was at the same restaurant. And then Rich Paul goes over to the table with the commissioner and says, we got to get rid of Luke Walton as the coach of the Lakers. This is the agent, Rich Paul, telling this to the commissioner of the NBA.
Oh, my goodness.
And what was his response?
It was like, check, please.
Yeah, that's
check,
what I
please.
would have
Or wait a
said,
minute.
too.
He might have gone to the Johnny Carson double take.
Where was this at? Like, Musos and Frank in Hollywood, or some, famous Hollywood
Hold on.
Vagos?
I just realized what I asked you before. Is that a dated reference to Johnny Carson double take?
Sure.
So I shouldn't use it anymore?
No, not among young people like BP and myself.
Well, I definitely.
And by the way,
no, I agree with you. I think that's a real mess out there, and I wonder if LeBron knew what he was getting himself into in that way, not, how long it might take them to win and everything, but certainly.
One last thing I wanted to mention, since I know you guys are short, but if LeBron James and Kyrie Irving reunite on the Lakers, how sick to your stomach are you going to be?
If LeBron James leaves on a train from Chicago at 8:04,
how will you feel about that? I mean,
I don't have time. We're past our time limit right now. Johnny Carson never went over.
You just told a joke about trains. You can't say I would be upset by that or I wouldn't care. Which is it?
Stay tuned tomorrow. We will address next Tuesday. We will address that.
I think most fans would be upset by that, BP.
Yeah.
I agree.
Who are you rooting? Both of you. Who are you rooting? Wait. Who are you rooting for? Golden State or Toronto?
I mean, I think you know me by now. I'm a huge Cavs fan, which means I hate Golden State, which means go Raptors, eh?
Hey, yeah.
I love watching Golden State play, but I would love to see Toronto win a championship in basketball.
I love Golden State, but I would like to see Toronto because of their organization.
There you go.
Little hockey
I
talk.
agree, eh?
Gotta go. That'll do it for us. Thanks to the great Bud Shaw from WKYC.com. One more. Nice. Pressure was on. We'll see you tomorrow with Terry Pluto. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.
Is that a Letterman